Marriage killers! Right now, your wife is done fighting, couldn't care less about your marriage, so the battle to save your marriage rests solely in your hands. Be you wuss or be you warrior. So, marriage killers repel your wife, they don't attract her. You must at all costs stop your marriage killing behavior right now. If your wife has asked for a divorce, man, or moved out the home, this means your marriage and communication is at an all-time low. You probably aren't talking. You're probably not holding each other or engaging in the marital embrace. Right now, in her mind, she is either indifferent or could care less about your marriage, which means you are in your own and on your own. You are completely on your own in trying to fix your marriage. Because in her wife and your wife's mind, guess what? She's done all she can do. She's fought for 20 years. She's done. And so what you got to do is you got to get that back because she feels you ignored her. She feels you've been taking her for granted. And with a woman, once she starts to feel that you guys aren't together on the same page, that the closest is gone, that you guys are arguing, you yelling at her, you're raising your voice at her, she starts to get hurt. She starts to plan her exit strategy and get out of the dodge, okay? Because you're distracted. You've been distracted. Remember, you are the leader and everything is your responsibility in the eyes of God. So these marriage killers I'm going to tell you about, they are what is going to keep you and help you get your wife back, help you get your marriage back in control, and help your family come back to where you need to be. Because that's what real men do, man. That's what real men do. We don't sit around blaming everybody and blaming everybody was everybody else's fault. You know, it's all our wife's fault, the kids' fault, our parents' fault. It's God's fault. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how good has that been for you for the last 10 years or 20 or 30 years? You know, blaming everybody else. You can't be like that. You are a man. You were meant for greatness, man. You're not meant to be a pout and a pootie and stand around and just blame everybody else and not take action and figure out how to be a real man and fix this. And anyway, your wife, you cannot expect your wife right now to lead you in this area, especially when she thinks things are over and she's indifferent. This is why you have got to start to lead. Whatever you do, your wife does. Whatever you do, your kids do. Again, in your wife's mind, she's been feeling like this for decades, man, and she's given up. This is why you must take the lead because she doesn't see any reason to. And at all costs, you must stop these damaging behaviors. And what are these marriage killers? These marriage behaviors that repel your wife and don't attract her to you. Okay, so they are arguing with her, bickering with her, debating with her, criticizing her, trying to control her, correcting her behavior, blaming her and complaining, verbally attacking her. And then you, when she attacks you, you defend yourself and then you attack her again, reminding her of all her past wrongs and stopping the need to defend yourself, which is what? When your wife is sitting there telling you did something wrong, you have to get over this pride thing of defending yourself. Just take it, let it go. Okay. Because those things I just mentioned, what they do is they push your wife away and stop your relationship from progressing. And if you want to save your marriage, this is what you have to do. It's tough. I'm not saying it's easy. So, each time you feel the need to do any of these marriage killers, ask yourself one question. Do you want to be right or do you want your marriage and family back? Because, dude, in the eyes of society, you will become a failure. No matter how you look at it, a billionaire and with the poorest man on the earth, they might be not successful or successful in money. But in the real scheme of life, in the big scheme of life, if you can't keep your marriage and family together as a man, you failed, man. You failed. Okay. So the way you stop the killers, these marriage killers, these killing behaviors is if things begin to rise to arguing, you only respond to what you agree with and say nothing on things she says that you don't agree with. If you break this rule, you will cause an argument and your relationship will regress. So the marriage killers list. I'm going to go into each one a little bit to help you understand, how to impose this. So again, most of these things, when you and your wife is talking, she's upset. Don't let things reach this point. When they reach this point, what you do is you let your pride go, because humility defeats evil. And in your marriage right now, there's tons of evil. It's entrenched in your home, in your wife, in you, and in your marriage, and you've got to start getting it out. This is why you need humility. Be as a man, be as Christ, okay? So argue with her. You can't argue with her, man. First thing you got to do is, if you did something wrong and what she's saying is right, you don't argue back. You just sit there, you listen, and then if what she's saying you agree with, you say, I did do that. And if you did it, you say, I'm sorry one time. After that, you don't say anything else. You just let it go, okay? You don't sit there fighting each other back and forth because raising your voice, that just makes things worse. Number 2, bickering with her. Bickering is not as bad as arguing, but it's the little stuff. Like what do you do sitting on the couch for when you're supposed to be doing work and blah, 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 blah. Or bickering back and forth. It doesn't cause an all full out, blown out argument. But if you're usually with people in their marriage, they start bickering back and forth before they reach the more critical arguing back and forth. Okay. Next, debating with her. I got a client now. He comes in, him and his wife, they don't really all out fight, but they debate. They debate with each other all the time. She says something and he tries to up her. He says something else, she tries to up him, and then she tries to up him. Debating back and forth will start the bickering, will start the arguing. You never get to any deep conversation. Everybody starts trying to decide who's right and who's wrong. You cannot win a marriage like that. Okay. Next, criticizing her. This is self-explanatory. You can't criticize her. You gotta fight the battle that you could, fight the battles when you need to. But criticizing her, telling her she looks bad, that she's fat, that she's not taking care of the house right. She's not, she's doing this wrong with the kids, or she's doing this wrong with her mom and dad. I mean, all that criticizing, man, don't do anything. It just hurts. So when you hurt somebody, these things I'm saying, they hurt people. They hurt her. So when she feels hurt, guess what she's gonna do? She's gonna start withdrawing from you. She's gonna shut down on you. She's gonna stop talking to you. Okay. Next, trying to control her. This is a big one. You can't try to control your wife, especially right now when she's pissed off at you. She's indifferent. She don't care about your marriage. What you got to do is you got to let her be out there, be her own woman, and be what she tries to be. When you guys get your marriage back together and things are going great again, then you can talk and have great conversations and you can talk about problems. But right now, talking about things and trying to control her, like she wants to go. I got a client right now. His wife wants to go out to the club and have drinks every night after work with her friends, with her single and divorced friends. Right now, he really can't say nothing because if he starts trying to control her, what she's going to do is get really pissed off and she's going to remove herself from his life more. And that's going to hurt her, the marriage, and the kids. Right now, you have to be cool with that. Next. Number 7, blaming her. You can't be blaming either. Blaming means what? Like, if say there's a flat tire in the car, and then first thing you do, your wife gets home, says there's a flat tire, and you start blaming her for the flat tire, or you start blaming her for all her past actions, especially stuff you really should be taking responsibility for, but you're blaming her so that to make yourself feel better. Blaming is not going to work at all. Okay. Next, number 8, complaining about things she does or doesn't do. So there are 18 of these. We're now number 8. So complaining about things she does or doesn't do. So that is what? So if your wife, say she's supposed to be watching the kids, but she's upstairs, playing bingo or whatever, You can't be complaining about that stuff right now, because anytime in your marriage, when you have marriage problems, especially right now where you guys are probably separated or getting a divorce, or she's asked for a divorce, anytime you bring any of this stuff up, man, it just makes her not want to talk about it. It stresses her out and it stresses you out. So you guys can't even come together and have a regular conversation. Okay. So if you're complaining about things she's doing, all you're doing is stressing her out. She's not going to want to talk to you. If she doesn't talk to you, how you going to build a close connection again? Think about that. Next, number 9, verbally attacking her, defending, and then attacking again. I talked about that earlier. You can't verbally attack your wife, calling her names, saying she's done this, or your ex is better than this, or if I were you, I wouldn't do that, and all that stuff. And then you defend yourself, and then she comes back and attacks you, and then you attack her again. All that stuff, man, all that does is start causing great and bigger and badder arguments. Okay. So also reminded her of her past wrongs. Yeah, I remember when 5 years ago, you had that affair with that dude, or 10 years ago, you allowed our kid, you got in a wreck with our kid in the back car and all that stuff. Man, reminding her of past wrongs don't do nothing, man. If you guys can't talk about it, cool, and have a good time with it, let it go. All this stuff is when you say something to your wife, especially in the position you're in right now, is if it's not going to make your relationship better or draw your wife more to you, don't say it. You should be talking about you guys' future and your retirement and going on vacations and taking the kids to away for a 3-day weekend, and how you guys used to be, how you used to love each other, how you cared about each other. Date your wife again. Show you love her. Try to go on date nights if she can, if she will right now. She probably won't, but eventually you'll get back to that if you don't wuss out and man up, okay? If you don't wuss out, but you start to man up, okay? Next, 11, stop the need to defend yourself. Oh my God, this is a big one. So every time your wife says something about you right now when she's left or asked for divorce, and you start defending yourself, you look weak. You look needy. You look desperate. Listen, if your wife says you did something, if you did it, you admit to it. Yeah, I did do that. And then stop the conversation. That's it. Don't go into this big, long thing of why and all that stuff. All right. Number 12, I ignore what she is saying as hogwash or not important or has no validity. So what she's saying is not important enough in my mind to take it seriously. So I invalidate or ignore it as not even worth my time thinking about it. Or I flat out ignore her, not looking at her or acknowledging her, or just ignoring her by changing the subject. Dude, you got to listen. Your wife right now feels that you don't listen to her. She feels she's not your partner. She feels that you don't appreciate her, that you don't respect her. So that's what's the problem. Okay, you got to stop that. Number 13, I yell at her or raise my voice. When you yell or raise your voice at your wife, you get mad with her, it hurts her to the deepness of her soul. And what that does is that causes pain. And once you cause enough of that pain, she starts to withdraw, shut you down, don't want to talk about nothing. She starts thinking about what? Getting rid of you. And as their husbands, you as her husband, you got to realize that you are the only one that can hurt her deep like that. Why? Because you guys are bonded. You've made love before. You have kids together. You were married before God. These things are special. And when you get mad at her and you fight, then things like that, she forgets all the good times because she's in pain. All right. So 14, I belittle her. I listen to her, but I make her feel insignificant for even thinking or saying something so dumb or stupid. Many times we don't mean to do this on purpose, but it can happen easily if we aren't thinking about what we are doing. This is why when your wife walks in the room, your kids walk in the room, man, you stop what you're doing and you look at them and you listen to what they're saying. Sure, it might be a little annoying or frustrating, but it's worth it when your wife feels that you've listened to her and that you heard what she says, because what happens is this stuff becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, it gets worse. You do it more often. All right. All of these things that I'm talking about are marriage killers, man, and they contribute to your wife feeling that you don't love her. And for a woman, her man loving her is everything. It's everything. And so if you think that you cannot have any empathy or sympathy or compassion or give your wife attention and appreciate her for years and years and years at a time while you go out and do your thing, you got nothing coming, brother. Your wife can cause chaos in your home just like that. Chaos just like that. And if you don't realize it, you'll look up and one day and your home will be in chaos, just like you can cause chaos in your home just like that. But right now, we're not talking about you, we're not talking about your wife. We're talking about you and how you can make your marriage great. Okay. Next, I lecture her. Not even kids like being lectured to, but they are kids and basically know know nothing, so they got to listen. Why? Because you're their parents, the fourth commandment and all that kind of stuff. But lecturing to an adult or our wives, especially when they didn't sign up for it, is kind of demeaning. We must get used to talking to them instead of at them. And I'm sure many wives do the same thing. Someone has to be the adult in leading this situation. Look, you can't be lecturing your wife. You guys got to have conversations, share deeply, talk deeply, sit down, have a glass of wine together, relax, and spend time together every day, at least 30 minutes to an hour, go on date night, speak to each other so that when things start going bad, what you can do is you guys are bonded together. You're stronger. You can deal with stuff. Okay. Number 16, I interrupt her when she speaks. This is a huge one. And most important is what? When you interrupt somebody when they're speaking, it causes bickering, arguing, a lot of frustration. The best way to stop this is humility. Humility is so important in all of this. You have to pull your ego out the way, because over the years, while your marriage was going bad, your ego was all in it. It was all about you. You was as much pleasure as you could get. Well, guess what? Now the chicken has come home to roost, man, and you're paying for this. Why? God is allowing this in your life because why? You were moving too far away from him. You got to remember, man, the more you move away from God, the more suffering and pain he allows the demons to interfere in your life. And so right now, if this is happening in your marriage, you must understand this is God's will for you. You deserve this because what you weren't paying attention. You were distracted and you allowed this to happen. Stuff happened to me twice, and I'm not trying to let it happen a third time. I'm keeping my wife. I don't care what I got to do. And that's the kind of idea you should say. You should be thinking. And the thing about it is you don't wait till stuff gets bad. You nip stuff in the bud. You nip stuff in the bud first so your wife doesn't feel that you don't care or aren't listening to her and stuff like that. Okay? When she is saying, what she is saying is just as important as what we are saying. Let her talk and get everything out. Then when she is done, you empathetically say your piece. This makes her feel and you feel like you've both been heard. Nothing causes frustration more than someone interrupting a thought process out of anger or rudeness. Basically, when we do this, the person isn't hearing us anyway because they are thinking about what they were going to say when they were interrupted. So when they were interrupted. So it's like, that's enough. That's self-explanatory, man. Okay. So 2 more, almost done. I insult her. Calling someone out of their name when debating or arguing is the first way to remove all credibility as to what you are trying to say. This makes things very emotional and personal, causing either party to want to do what? Call names back. It's common sense. That's what's going to happen. This accomplishes nothing and causes much resentment. And right now, if your wife has asked for a divorce or left the home, she is very resentful. Her heart is hard. Her heart is cold. But guess what? If you know what to do, you can change all that around. It's going to take time. You got to be a soldier, a warrior about it, but it can happen and it will happen. Okay. If a name is called, stop all conversation and apologize immediately. This often diffuses much and calms things down. So if by mistake you say your wife is stupid, you stop right now and say, "Oh my God, I should never said that. I'm so sorry," and really mean it. Okay, and give her a hug and a kiss and say, "I'm sorry," because everybody makes a mistake. Everybody gets frustrated or pissed off. Bad days and all of that. But the main thing is you don't call your wife a name and then don't apologize or never apologize for that. And then something else happens and then it just builds up and builds up. And then you start to lose credibility because your wife loses respect for you because of the stupid stuff you're doing. Okay. So this often diffuses each and calms things down. Like I said, so number 18, the last one, I make her feel threatened. I know this one is used and abused a lot, right? He threatened me. He emotionally abused me. I know it's crap, but look, man, sometimes it's real. Okay. You know it and I know it. But if you would like more help because your wife has asked for a divorce, she's left the home with or without the kids, or is seeing another man, visit www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. That's www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. Not just to get your wife back, but to stop her from ever wanting to leave again. It's www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. Bam!